those are all the things that people worry about today, and it's sad. And so we have to get back to a point where we put the phones away and start enjoying each other again, because I miss that. I miss the family reunions. We used to have family reunions and there was no phones, honey. All we had to do was play. We have lost sight of it. Happy Self-Love Sunday. I am Tarnisha Mosas, your host of Self-Love Sundays with Sass. I am your certified vision and empowerment and extreme execution coach who comes every single Sunday so we can talk about all the ways in which you can better your best. And you know, we are always going to get it started by asking you, have you picked up your copy of my book, Finding Your Way, 7 Ways to Love and Heal Yourself? And my accountability, listen, my journal, my guided journal can go as a companion to my Finding Your Way book, or a standalone journal, as well as my journal card deck. This card deck is amazing. I'm telling you, it is the perfect companion to the journal. You don't want to miss out on this, guys. Like, it's amazing to unlocking so many things that are holding you back. And also, I have my accountability tracking workbook, which is absolutely phenomenal. If you are looking to have success in your life, you 1000% need this accountability tracking workbook. You can find it on Amazon and or my website, and all things will be linked in this video and or listed below if you're listening from my podcast. So let's get into it, because we are marching into success this month. And a part of marching into success, we talked about vision. We talked about, the magic of thinking big. And I want to talk about something today that we don't practice often enough, and it is mindfulness, right? And so I'm going to talk from a standpoint of understanding frustrations, desires, and fears, because one of the ways in which to address this is mindfulness. But let's get into it, because if you're seeking improvement for your well-being, stress reduction, and or better relationships, this is why mindfulness is important. Because listen, most of us in our home life, we grapple with frustrations of managing stress, struggling work-life balance. Come on, somebody, a lack of focus and presence. And it's so true, because I think about just being home sometimes, and just when all my children was living at home, and just being so super busy and not being present to what was happening. But most times we desire, what do we really desire, right? So those are some of the frustrations. But what we desire is inner peace. We want our living environments to be harmonious. We want our relationships with our family members to be improved. And the biggest fear that we face is being overwhelmed, not relatively emotional to what's happening in the moment. And we also have a fear of facing the escalating conflicts that are happening either between us and our partners, our husbands, wives, and or our children that's happening. And so that's home life. In relationships, some of the biggest frustrations is the communication challenges, right? Difficulty empathizing, unresolved conflicts that lead to frustration. And when I talk about relationships, I'm talking about your friendships, as well as your personal relationships in your home, if you have a husband and or wife and or your children. But I'm talking about your colleagues, so on and so forth. But what we desire really is deeper connections, emotional intelligence, and want to be able to conflict resolute peacefully. I say that peacefully. And it's peaceful doesn't necessarily mean we all agree, but learning how to agree to disagree. And we also carry around a big fear of relationships breakdowns, loneliness, and trust issues can be absolutely daunting in the relationships, right? And so then we go to careers. Some of the frustrations with careers is burnout, lack of focus, poor time management. But we desire purpose, productivity, career growth, but fear stagnation, job insecurity, and feeling overwhelmed by workloads. And I've been in corporate America now for 28 years, and there's always a threat of job security. There's always a threat of never being able to climb the ladder or getting promoted. There's always a threat of being overwhelmed because the more they let people go, the more work they pass down, right? And so let's get into now business. So what are some of the frustrations with business, right? It's ineffective leadership, poor collaboration, and difficulty adapting to change. Listen, whether you own a business or work in a business, these are some of the biggest frustrations that are out there. Okay. But our desire is really, we want a positive, cohesive workplace, right? We want to achieve success and innovation. All right. But what's getting in the way is the fears. What are we fearing? Business failure. We're fearing being let go. We're fear of competition, legal and or ethical issues, right? So why did I talk about the frustration, desires, and fears in relation to mindfulness? Because mindfulness involves being fully present in the moment without judgment, cultivating awareness through practices like meditation, breathing exercises, and mindfulness activities. And so what that means is if we can get proactive, meaning we can just take some time out to get mindful, to get present in ourselves, in our bodies, some of those frustrations and fears that we have will start to dissipate so that we can get into the desires of our true heart, what we really, really want. And I want you to know that when we talk about mindfulness, I'm not talking about it doesn't just have to be us sitting somewhere meditating quietly. You can practice mindfulness anywhere. So why is it that we want to get proactive instead of reactive? Listen, I talked about big thinkers last week, and if you didn't get a chance to check it out, please do so. Big thinkers understand the need to be proactive, because if you're always reactive, you're always on the defense, right? And being on the defense all the time can cause you to be frustrated, can cause you to lash out. But if you get proactive and get mindful, start to think big, get present in the moment. Listen, before you walk into that meeting, what would it look like for you just to take 2 to 5 minutes, and just do some breathing practices? And you may say 2 to 5 minutes isn't long. I'm going to challenge you. I'll challenge you right now to pause this video, put a timer on for 5 minutes, and hold a plank without your booty being in the air. Don't tell me 5 minutes isn't a long time. 2 to 5 minutes is a very long time. Okay. The thing is, most people think that it has to always be something really huge, instead of understanding that it's the simple things that can actually make a difference in your life. It's the simple things that can make a difference in your relationship. It's the simple things that can make a difference in your business. It's the simple things that can make a difference in your career, because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. And it's the simple things that can make your home life so much better. But why do people forget to practice mindfulness, right? There's 3 things that is happening as to why people don't practice mindfulness. Number 1 is the busy lifestyles. We believe that if our calendars are filled up all day, every day, and we're just busy being busy, then that means that we're some sort of successful beings. And it's this fast-paced life. And listen, I get it. I want to be clear that I led the lifestyle, okay? Like I had 6 children, and the last 3 were the most active out of all the children. So I had a daughter who did travel cheer. We traveled all over the East Coast with her. We had my other daughter who did travel softball, as well as my son who did baseball. So there would be times on any given day where all 3 of them would be running, and it would be from morning to evening, right? So I get and I understand it, but I also understood that even within all of that, if you continually just go, then you break down mentally, you break down spiritually, you break down emotionally, and you break down physically within your body. Okay. So that's one reason why people, forget and don't practice mindfulness. Number 2 is lack of awareness. You cannot be aware of yourself and what you need if you're constantly running around doing everything for everyone else and not taking care of you. If you're not coming into center with yourself, if you're not giving yourself a moment just to sit down and breathe, right? If you're not, you cannot be aware of you and the breakdown that's happening all around you. Because most of us don't realize. I didn't realize until it was too late either. I told you guys, I don't come here and I don't speak to you from a theory standpoint. I lacked awareness. And so there was things that were happening in my home. I've now since been divorced, but things that I just was not aware of because I was so busy being busy, thinking that I was, I don't know. It just felt like, well, if I'm always doing something right, that meant some form of success. That meant like, and it also was the thing. Let's be honest. We gonna be honest in here today. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you, because people will be like, well, look what she's doing, and look how she's doing it, and da 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 da. Right? It was that need for attention, and everybody can't be honest about that. But I could be honest about who I was before. Because it's a really real thing, especially we get caught up in trying to be the best mom and trying to be the best wife and trying to be the best this or best that, but we're not being the best for ourselves, so we're lacking awareness. So the next thing is the digital distractions. Listen, I can't tell you how many times that I've gone out, and I go out by myself. I take myself out to dinner a lot, and I see families at the table and everyone's on their phones. No one's engaging. The husband and wife spend more time posting on social media, doting love for one another than expressing it with themselves together in their home, which this is what we've come to. And I understand that my younger children don't know what a world is like without a phone, but I remember what it was like. And I remember we had to have the hot conversations, which was the honest, open, and transparent conversations. I remember we had to learn the skills of how to calm ourselves down and actually get present, because there was no other thing to do besides be present, right? It wasn't all of this distraction. But what social media has done is it allowed people to escape from their lives. And as long as you are escaping from you, you are going to what? Lack awareness. So the three things of why people forget and don't practice mindfulness is the busy lifestyle, the lack of awareness, and the digital distractions. So you have to ask yourself, can I keep going at the rate that I'm going? My frustrations and my fears are ruling out my desires, right? So again, in the beginning, that's why I talked about the frustrations, but what we really desire, but what fear is in the way. But if we don't get present to what's going on within us, then we can't make effective change outside of us. All right. So I want to give you some practical ways to help you reduce your stress, improve your mental clarity, and just enhance your emotional intelligence and better relationships. Number one, when we talk about mindful practices, meditation, deep breathing exercises, taking walks. People don't realize a 15-minute walk. And what does that look like? Walk out your door 7 minutes and walk back 7 minutes. Just taking a walk, if you need music, that's fine. But if you just took a walk with nothing in your ear, just walking and just taking a look at the scenery, what's around you. So many times we're looking for things that are right in front of us. How many times have you said you're looking for your phone and it's in your hand? You're looking for your keys, it's right in front of you. You're looking for your pocketbook, it's right on the same chair. But because we don't take a moment to get present, we don't even notice what's right in front of us. What does your surroundings look like outside your home? Have you ever taken the time to do that? And what it allows you to do is just to take a look at all the beauty that's right in front of you. Everybody's running the rat race to get to something, but never taking in the beauty of what they already have. Okay. And so when I talk about deep breathing exercise, I came up with a method called the 5-5-5 method, and it's actually in my book. And that's where you take 5 minutes and you want to inhale for the count of 5, hold it for a count of 5, exhale for a count of 5, and extend the exhale for a count of 5 before you inhale again. And you do that for 5 minutes. Again, this is going to help you become more proactive than reactive if you just take the time in the moment to step outside yourself. Just give yourself a moment. Give yourself a moment. I call that, I get present with God. Getting present with the Holy Spirit. And again, you don't have to believe what I believe, and that is okay, right? But whatever you believe, do you take time to get present with that? Take time to get present with the God that's within you. It's such a beautiful thing. And meditation is my all-time favorite, right? And I understand, and I'm going to give you another mindful practice to do with this, but just learning how to get quiet and get still and to still your mind, just to still your mind. Why am I stilling my mind? I'm capturing my thoughts, because the mind can be a very negative place. But if I can get a hold of my mind to capture the thoughts, right? It helps me to take away what's not true and allow me to implant what is. I am enough. I am grateful. I am a great wife. I am a great mother, right? Tell yourself the truth. I'm a great father. I'm a great man. I'm a great woman. Tell yourself the truth. Okay. So that's the first thing. Those are some mindful practices. Another thing you can do is do communications training. Listen, I didn't always learn, I didn't know how to be an effective communicator. I went to a bunch of programs. I went to emotional intelligence programs. One was called Next Level Trainings. That was actually 100% amazing for interpersonal skills, empathy, and conflict resolution, and just fostering healthy relationships, both in home and the workplace. Because the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Most people think, oh, they show up different at their job. You don't. If you're passive aggressive at home, you're passive aggressive at work too. You just think you don't see it, but the other person working with you, we see it. We see it all the time. It's like, yeah, I see it. We see the frustrations that you carry and the way that you acted out at home. It's not exactly in the same tune. Oh, but we feel it. Okay. So you can go take a communications training, right? You can also work with a coach. I do a lot with teaching people how to effectively communicate the who, what, where, when, why, and how of themselves, right? Because I'm the gap filler. I take people from where they are today to where they want to be. In order to do that, you have to learn how to effectively and clearly communicate what it is that you need and what do you want, right? Because we can't do this alone. So if your help has to read your mind, you don't get the proper help. The reason why most couples are not happy is because each person thinks that the other person is supposed to read their mind, and or they're too afraid to speak their truth. So they don't go to get effective communication training. And how can you do that? Couples counseling. I don't care what anybody says. If you are intentionally dating at a stage, if you're at a stage where you're like, listen, I'm committed to this person, go to counseling. You'll see how into the person you are. I think that's a beautiful thing. Communication training is 100% effective, and it will help you in all areas of your life. Next, time management workshops. Listen, work-life balance is key to mindfulness, right? Getting help organizing your tasks so that you can stop feeling overwhelmed. I get it. Most people don't want to be stuck to a calendar. However, the calendar is your friend. When you look at blocking time out to say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes a day with my foundation of my soul, my God, whoever you decide to call it. I'm going to spend 5 minutes throughout the day practicing my breathing. I'm going to take time to care and love for myself. It becomes so important. And also, getting organized will help you with mindfulness. What does that look like? Listen, when I had all my kids at home and I worked a full-time job, I also had my own business at that time. It was fitness. On Sunday, I literally would put out all of my clothes, the shirt, the pants, the underwear, the socks, and the shoes would be lined up for the week. Yeah, that meant I had to check the weather, but so what? Right? What did that do? It took out, we make 3,500 decisions a day. It took away some unnecessary decisions that I had to make. So that allowed me to have some balance. It allowed me not to be running around looking for a shoe in the morning, because that's what kids do, right? It allowed me to not do that. Their things were lined up in the closet. All they had to do was pull it down until they got old enough, of course, to want to do it themselves. But it allowed me to do that. I also meal prepped. I generally like my meats fresh. So what I would do is we would prep the sides, right? You can always heat up mashed potatoes or broccoli or whatever. That was fine. I like my meats fresh. So it didn't take me long to cook meat, right? Whether I was baking it 20 minutes, whatever, right? But I had all of the rest of that stuff prepped on Sunday, ready to go. Actually got the kids involved in it. Let them cut up little things, turn on some music, right? Get the family involved. In that way, you have more time throughout the week to center yourself, to exercise, to plan the nutritious meal, to know what you're wearing. And it's a beautiful thing. It helps you flow easier. I know it seems rigid. It only seems rigid because you're not consistent. Okay. So next, you can also listen. If you are a leader, these are practical ways to help you. I'm telling you, go to leadership development programs, take them. John C. Maxwell has one. There's so many leadership programs out there today because they're going to enhance your leadership skills. And why is that important? Because then you can, when you incorporate mindfulness for yourself, then that is going to help with team collaboration. It's going to help them be able to adapt to change, because the one thing that we know is that that's going to be consistent is change. Change is consistent. Okay. So it'll help them adapt better. And it also will foster an environment of positivity where people can thrive, right? So go take leadership development programs that's going to help you be able to effectively give them mindfulness practices. All right. And also, lastly, integrate mindfulness in your business. And listen, when I talk about leadership development, I'm talking from a standpoint of whether you're working in your career as a leader or you own your own business. But integrating mindfulness practice in the workplace is a game changer. You want your people to be proactive. You want them to be stress-free. Listen, maybe their home life is a mess, but imagine if you started a meeting where just for the first 5 minutes of the meeting, it was just this deep breathing, getting centered, getting present, letting go of everything outside of the meeting so we can get into the meeting. You have no idea what that will do for people. I'm telling you, it sets the tone. It helps them to focus. It enhances their creativity and their overall well-being. When you have healthy and happy employees, that's how you get to the money. Okay? You're going to see a difference in your revenue stream because they're able to know that they don't have to work in this overworked, overindulged community, and it's just chaos. Because the reason why it's chaos is because of your chaos. If you're the leader and you live in chaos in your mind, in your practices, in your body, the people around you will do the exact same. That's why it's important to start with you first with the leadership development program and then incorporating that into your business, right? And so let's talk about how, right? We talked about, what ways, right? So let's talk about how. You want to start small. Begin with short, manageable mindfulness practices. So what does short mindfulness practices look like? 5-minute meditation, 2 to 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes of breathing, 2 to 5 minutes of quiet, 15-minute walk, 7 minutes walk outside your door, set the timer, 7 minutes, turn back and walk back home. Okay, start small and then build. Next, consistency. You have to remain consistent. Put it on your calendar to get up 10 minutes early and spend 5 of those minutes washing your face and brushing your teeth, and the other 5 doing deep breathing, getting yourself centered for your day. It is a game changer. But what happens is, and it has happened, listen, I had a client, she would set her schedule and she would never stick to it and be like, it's not working. Well, it's not working because you're not working it. Can we be honest today? Like when you go to sign up to work with somebody, be sure that you're going to do the work. Right? Eventually we got her there, but it's also, I had to help her to see, like, you're not sticking to your commitments, right? And most people don't stay committed to their commitments because they don't practice mindfulness and this lack of awareness. They're not even aware. I made this whole schedule to help myself. I did all of this to help myself, but I don't follow any of it. It's the lack of consistency. The reason why most people are not successful, lack of consistency. That's why I started my community 1% Nation, so we can do what the 99% don't do, so we can have what the 99% won't have. And that starts with consistency. That's how we're able to get results. That's how I'm able to get my clients results. It's consistency. But we also start small. Next, get whatever resource you need. So listen, what does resources look like? They have all sorts of apps. They have the Calm app. They have all sorts of apps that help you with mindfulness. You can get books on mindfulness practices. If you listen, if you don't want to buy a book, go to your local library and try out a few, right? See which ones that you like, but get the resources to help yourself so then that you can help someone else, right? How this will help you. I'm telling you, it's a game changer in business. So next is community support. Get yourself, and I talked about it, get yourself in a community that helps you to understand the importance of mindfulness, that actually practices mindfulness. That's so important because the community is going to keep you going when you can't keep yourself going, when you can't keep yourself consistent, right? And when you're making those changes, you need the support system. You can't do it alone. Listen, we were not born to do it alone. If we could do it alone, we could. We can't. You absolutely cannot. Get in a supportive community. If not mine, find someone else's. There are so many others. There are great communities out there. You could even find something that you love to do, whether it's doing hair, automobile business, real estate. Find the gurus that you love. They all should have communities. Join them. Okay. And last, don't be afraid of doing guided meditation. So I know sometimes as people find it really hard to sit and just quiet and still your mind. YouTube has it's called, it's Great Meditation. It's called. There's a channel that I actually subscribe to, and they have 5 minute guided meditation, 10 minute, 15, 20 minutes. They even some go up to an hour, 2 hours. I actually do nighttime meditations as well. So I'm listening to things overnight. So don't be afraid to use guided meditations if in fact you find that you can't quiet your mind. But I'm telling you, if you want to address the frustrations in your life, if you want to address the fears in your life so you can have the thing that you truly desire, these practical small tips are going to be the thing that's going to help you become mindful, build a better relationship with your family, build better relationships with your coworkers, build better relationships with your employees, build better relationships with your friends, and so forth and so on. And so I always say, here's a challenge for you. The next time you go out with a group of friends, why don't one person, let it be you be the leader, take everyone's phone, and just put it to the side and just enjoy one another. You know what I find? I find that most people are not even real anymore because they're so afraid that someone's going to video them in their private moments and, put it all over the internet. I think that's a shame because we lose authenticity and transparency with people because there are some things that I like to do that I don't want everybody seeing, and that's okay. I think that we've lost touch with society of having some things be extremely personal. That's all right. I am just as giddy. I am the fun girl child. I love a good kiki. I love a good laugh. I love a good joke. But I also realize that we live in a world that is ultra sensitive, and not every joke that's funny to me is going to be funny to someone else. And so I don't want that on the internet to harm someone else's feelings because I understand that, right? I understand that what's funny to me is not going to be funny to someone else. Now, I'm not talking about laughing at someone's expense. That's not what I mean, right? I put it this way. I love Dave Chappelle. I know a lot of people don't. So I may find something that he says funny. Someone may find that offensive. And so those are all the things that people worry about today. And it's sad. And so we have to get back to a point where we put the phones away and start enjoying each other again, because I miss that. I miss the family reunions. We used to have family reunions and there was no phones, honey. All we had to do was play. We have lost sight of it because everybody's trying to expose people. Everybody's trying to catch somebody, embarrass somebody. Let me tell you something that no one understands. And I know I'm getting off of mindfulness a little bit, but I'm not, because this is about mindfulness and awareness. Just know that when you begin to expose somebody, the same grave you dig for them, get ready to dig it for yourself. People forget that. People forget that. And the truth of the matter is, what are we really trying to prove when we do that? Right? When people go dig up stuff about people from years ago. And the reason about people do that is because they're not present. They lack awareness. They lack something within themselves. So I got to go harm other people. Now, I'm not talking about if someone did harm to you. Someone does harm to you, you can call the police, do whatever it is you need to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that we are losing touch as a society on loving one another and coming together and being able to make mistakes. I thank God that cell phones wasn't around when I was younger, because I probably wouldn't be here today. I probably would have been canceled 30 times over for being a kid. I probably have been canceled 30 times over for making a mistake. I probably would have been canceled 1,000 times over because I was always reactive, because no one had trained me how to become proactive. No one trained us on how to think and behave in certain situations. So I had to learn and grow and gain wisdom and knowledge, right? And so along that journey, I've done some things that were harmful, where I did harmful things to other people. I did things to my children that were not okay, but I had to grow and learn from it. I didn't know. And the thing is, most people don't know what they don't know. And so by you throwing them all over the internet, and it supposedly makes you feel good for 5 minutes, never realizing that everyone gets a chance to grow. Everyone gets a chance to learn. And I'm going to give a disclaimer. Now, I'm not talking about, I always have to give this because I realize this is for the greater good of the internet. I'm not talking about people who have done physical, violent harm to anyone. That is not what I'm talking about. Let's be very clear, because I don't want any comments, okay? I don't want those, oh, but what about, listen, that is not what I'm talking about. Because people, instead of listening to an entire message today, they chop up a clip and they want to talk about the clip, and just, they don't give it's the context, what came before. The same way you have to read the Bible, right? It's not just the passage, what came before and what came after. What is the context of the comment? Okay, so I want us to get into the habit of listening to entire things. People will be explaining something for a whole hour. People will take 10 seconds of it and tear a person apart. And it makes no sense to me. But just understand, if you're a young person, I don't really care how old you are listening to this, understand this one principle. For every one person that you intentionally tear down, you better get ready. Because if you wonder why sometimes you're not sleeping good at night, if you wonder why sometimes things just aren't working out for you, you might want to ask yourself, what have you done to someone else? And again, I had to ask myself that same exact question. And I had to learn to give grace because I wanted grace. I had to learn to be forgiven because I wanted forgiveness. I desired forgiveness, right? So these are the things that I had to learn. But how I had to learn them was I had to get mindful. I had to get present to my behavior. I had to get aware. I had to sit and get quiet, right? I had to walk without music sometime and just look at things around me and say, what am I doing? I'm running around here thinking my life is this and that, is terrible, but there's so much beauty right in front of me. This is why mindfulness practices are important. So I really hope that this helped you today. I hope that you start to practice mindfulness. Please let me know. Reach out to me at info@mosas if you want to email me. You want to talk about coaching to learn those communication techniques, learn mindfulness, get in the right community, www.mosas.com, and I'll talk to you next week.